Welcome to the True Crime Never Sleeps podcast. I'm your host, Larry Lease. On today's episode of Murder Monday, we dive into the murder of Arlis Perry. Was this a lone murder or the work of a serial killer? Let us know your thoughts on this case in the comments section below. And don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button. So, without further ado, let's dive right into today's case. Arlis K. Perry was just 19 years old when she was murdered in the Stanford Memorial Church near Stanford University. She was a devoted Christian and considered the church one of her favorite places. The evening of the murder, she argued with her husband, a student at Stanford. They argued of all things about tire pressure on a car. Rather than carrying on the argument, she chose to go and pray. Her husband returned home, expecting her to be no more than an hour. When she had not returned after 3 hours, he reported her missing. What followed was an extensive murder inquiry. Despite the best efforts of the police, the case would remain unsolved for 40 years. Finally, in 2018, after a breakthrough in DNA profiling, a match was obtained. However, the perpetrator would never be brought to justice. Born on February 22, 1955, Arlis K. Dykema, to parents Marvin and Jean, was the youngest of 3 children. She attended Bismarck High School in North Dakota. It was here that she met Bruce Perry, and the two became sweethearts. When Bruce went to Stanford, the couple continued a long-distance relationship for a while. They were married when he returned home from college in the summer of 1974. After her wedding, she moved to Stanford to be with her husband. It was the last time her parents saw her alive. She lived in Stanford for 6 weeks before being murdered on October 21st. At 11:30 p.m., Arlis and Bruce walked through the campus when they had a silly argument. She left him to cool down, saying she was going to pray. When she did not arrive home at 3 a.m., Bruce became concerned and called the police to report her missing. Officers went to the church to check and report that the doors were locked. However, at 5:45 a.m., campus security went to the church and found the body of Arlis near the altar at the east transept. The body was found face up with her hands folded across her chest. There were signs of strangulation, and an ice pick was sticking out the back of her head. Its handle was missing. Arlis was naked from the waist down and had an altar candle between her chest and inserted in her vagina. Her jeans were placed diamond pattern on her legs. DNA on her jeans would be the evidence that found her killer 40 years later. The police discovered that campus security Stephen Crawford had locked the church up at midnight when everything was quiet. He then checked it at 2 a.m. and it was still secure. When he opened up at 5:45 a.m., he found the west side door was open where it had been forced from the inside. 7 people had been in the church the night of the murder. Only one was unidentified. He had sandy-colored hair and was of medium build and height. Police suspected a satanic element to the murders because of the symbolism used. They found semen on a kneeling pillow on the body. It was checked against both her husband, Bruce, and that of the campus security, but it didn't match either. Bruce Perry, although the initial suspect in the murder, was ruled out quickly through DNA evidence and the lie detector that he took. The state and police were in a panic. California was already on edge with the Manson murders being committed 5 years earlier. David Berkowitz, better known as the Son of Sam, stated he knew the killer. FBI agents traveled to his cell to interview him. However, it was common for him to seek attention in any way he could, and the police concluded that he was lying. However, columnist Mari Terry suggests there may be some truth in his confession. Terry states that Berkowitz worked as part of a satanic cult known as the Process Church of the Final Judgment, and they ordered him to murder. Could the same cult be behind the murder of Perry? Then, in 2018, the police reviewed the cold case, sending the DNA evidence from the jeans for re-examination. With the DNA advancements, this time they got a conclusive match. The DNA belonged to campus security. Campus security, more specifically, Stephen Blake Crawford, who found the body. Crawford was now 72. The police went to his house to arrest him on June 28, 2018. However, they never got to question him as he locked the door and shot himself, committing suicide. Crawford was a military veteran who had also been an armed policeman. In addition, he had a criminal record for committing a series of thefts from the Stanford libraries. Was Crawford a serial killer? Police found literature in his home on serial killing. They wondered whether Crawford may have been responsible for more than one murder and be a serial killer, so they compiled a list of unsolved cases that could be linked. They found 3 likely cases: the strangulation of a 21-year-old who was a Stanford graduate, the murder later the same year of a physics student, and another in March 74 where the victim was strangled. All the victims were in the same age range, and their murders included stabbing and strangling, but none were satanic. The satanic nature of the murders made many question whether this was a lone act of Crawford. Although he had a previous criminal record, it seemed a big jump for him to have evolved from theft to satanic murder. Like serial killer Joseph DeAngelo, when interviewed, people who knew Crawford said there were no clues to him being a killer. Whether Crawford was a serial killer or why he arranged Perry's body in a satanic way are all questions we will never have answers to, as Crawford took them to the grave with him. Well, let us know your thoughts on this case in the comments section below. As always, if you want to support the channel, go ahead, buy us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/tcness. Your support is very much appreciated and helps us hopefully one day take this show on the road, hire new talent, and create more shows based on their experiences. And as always, thank you so much for watching and listening. We will see you next time. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and like our video. If you want to see even more, check out these videos.